Yeah.
Now, the next thing Jay Levinson says in his book, he says, the gorilla is a cheapskate. She or he knows that every dollar allocated to marketing is essential, and she doesn't plan to waste a penny. But she's not foolish. When necessary, she or he hires the best designers, media planners, and experts in the business. He or she realizes that the best is often the cheapest in the end. The best is the cheapest in the end. So Arthur, have you ever been guilty of where you went with a really cheap supplier, but it ended up costing you more in the end because you had to have it redone a bunch of times? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
how do you balance that though? Because a lot of people watching this don't have a lot of extra cash, right?
Right.
And most businesses in America, again, over 90% of all the businesses in our country today have 10 people or less. How do you balance the need to be cheap, right? You want to save money.
Right.
With not having an inferior marketing product or something. How do you do it?
Well, and I think there's a difference there in being cheap and being frugal.
Okay.
If you're being cheap, you're cheap. If you're being frugal, you're being smart, but yet you're
Okay.
watching your funds. And so some of it is asking the right questions, making sure you know anything. For example, so one of the most common things that I watch people get sucked into is the company calls and says, we would like your business to sponsor the basketball team for the local basketball team. And I say,
You're offending the people who sell the sponsorships to basketball games right now? Is that what you're doing?
I am.
Okay.
So anyway, so here's how it works. So you pay money to be on this poster. Okay, none of that money, the basketball teams actually don't see that money. It all goes towards the printing of the posters. And so I would know these guys that would be spending hundreds of dollars on this advertising all day long. And I said, well, have you ever seen this poster? I mean, like, where have you ever seen this poster? And none of them can really tell me where they've seen this poster before.
Yeah. Now, I'll say this because I want to give a fair and balanced news coverage. I also have worked with a ton of companies who have purchased these ads in these things. Like you buy the ad on the poster for the basketball team.
Right.
And I have never seen anybody even approach any level of success on that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you're watching this and you maybe have. But I think the biggest thing is you got to be frugal with your dollars, right?
Right.
But you don't want to just throw money away. But I want to hammer on the cheap side for a second here.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of times, I remember when I was in business, for first starting out the DJ company, I wanted to get T-shirts at a discount. So I went with the cheapest company possible. There was some company where you order shirts and they'll get it to you right away. Well, they were like heat stamping them so like the logos could come off. I washed my shirt and half the logo's coming off.
Yep.
Well, the next time I was like, I want to get a good deal, but I still don't want to pay a lot. So I did trade out, where I traded out my services. I kind of, if they were wanting like $7 a shirt and I paid $4 a shirt, but I traded out my DJ service.
Right.
Do you ever do trade out, barter? You ever do that?
Absolutely.
Do you do it a lot?
I do it quite often.
Okay, and that helps you keep your costs low without being cheap?
It does. There is some, when you do that, full disclosure here, you need to make sure you're, there are certain tax ramifications that you have to claim, and so you got to be careful of that, but yeah, that is a way to do it.
I've never heard about this.
Well, I have.
Okay, all right. So now, if I'm watching this right now, let's just say I'm short on cash and super long on motivation. I'm pumped. I just read a Tony Robbins book, a Napoleon Hill book. I just went to an outstanding church. I watched the TED Talks. I don't know, but somehow I am pumped. I'm just like, yes, I've got to get going. I got to start marketing.
Yeah.
Woo! And then they look in the bank account, and this is what I did. Uh-oh, I don't have any money. Mm-hmm. What are some things we could maybe do to start? What kind of marketing materials could we make? On the cheap.
On the cheap?
Yeah.
What kind of market?
Well, on the discount.
Let's talk about the business. We need to know what kind of business.
I'm a realtor again. Going back to the realtor.
You're a realtor. On the cheap, it would be, you know what? I would be getting on the phone. I would get on the phone and calling every person I know and make sure, hey, will you commit to me that when you need a house, that you're calling me?
Now, I will say this. I just want to hammer this because Arthur's like a marketing guru where you can just ask him these questions on the fly and bam, just nails it. That's what I did with my business because I was like, I can't afford to drop anything off. I'm just going to cold call and I'm going to check in on people. And I would give them, I called them verbal bouquets. But I would call and I'm like, is this the amazing Arthur? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, this is Clay Clark, your brother from another mother. And they're like, who? Your brother from another mother. And I wanted to call you because I noticed it had been a long time since we talked. They're like, I don't think I've ever met you. I know. And so I just want to tell you that if we have any brides that are looking for a venue and a place to have their wedding, because we had a DJ, we had a wedding entertainment company.
Right.
I would love to send them your way. and I just wanted you to know, and we'll be in touch. And then I would send them a handwritten note. And that was about all I could do.
Right.
Well, over time, I thought, well, gosh, I could send them a recipe on the same, I mean, it's paper. I could send them a recipe. So I would send them a recipe for turkey, like some kind of turkey recipe for the holidays, but I would put my hand on the paper and draw around it and then put a recipe. And those things worked, and it created a buzz where people knew me.
Well, it made it remarkable, where people were remarking about it.
And some people did write me off, but I honestly landed a lot of venues. I say a lot. Probably 10 to 15 wedding venues in town. It referred me exclusively. And I think the most expensive gift I ever gave them was a Krispy Kreme donut. But it was drawing my, turkey on there, making the recipe, calling people, verbal bouquets, dropping off. So there's no excuse for it, right? I mean, no matter how much money you have or don't have on marketing, you can do this stuff.
Right.